My topic for today video is understanding subsidies in the context of Indian economy. Subsidies are the most important attributes of any welfare state. India, at the eve of independence, was left with uphill task of socio-economic development. Markets were almost non-existent, masses lived in abated poverty and illiteracy. Given such circumstances, founding fathers of democratic India rightly envisaged India state to be a welfare state. However, 70 years down the line, only the few problems have abated, while new ones cropped up and poverty still stubbornly remains a pressing problem. In this context, latest economic survey rightly points out that despite spending as high as 3.77 lakh crores rupees annually on subsidies, there is no transformational impact on a standard of living of masses. While subsidies have helped some poor people to do firefighting, main allegation on a subsidy economy is that through subsidies, money meant for poorest is appropriated by richer section of the society due to mistargeting and leakages. Subsidies should be aimed at specific development objectives. On achieving those objectives, it should be gradually phased out. It is only then the subsidies can go well with an undistorted market economy. However, in a democracy, subsidy once extended becomes a politically sensitive issue, and government suffers huge political risk if they phase out such subsidies. Over time, subsidies are extended which pile up on orders, which takes a huge toll on other expenditure of government. They are forced to cut allocations to development and infrastructural avenues. Further, higher subsidy expenditure pushes a fiscal and revenue deficit as government starts spending more than it seems. This fiscal deficit can be closed preferably by raising more revenues through new taxes or by borrowing money. Subsidies and its opportunity cost. We have tax to GDP ratio of around 17.7%. With this amount, government has to provide for interest payments of its debts, expenses for its humongous administration, defense of the country, devolution of estates and panchayats, development work, infrastructure, and subsidies. In 2013, total expenditure by government was 13.8% of GDP. Out of this expenditure, revenue expenditure was 12.1% of GDP, leaving just 1.7% of GDP for capital expenditure that is meant for investments. Out of this revenue expenditure, non-planned expenditure was 9.5% of GDP. It goes without saying that it is in the interest of nation to minimize this consumption part of expenditure and increase allocation to capital expenditure, which stood at just 1.7% of GDP. However, most of the expenditure and components which I have described above are inflexible. Interest payments cannot be reduced unless there is higher growth in economy. Pensions are ballooning as there is consistent increase in life expectancy across demographic spectrum of India. Grants to states are also expected to go up given government's commitment towards federalism. In all this, there is significant scope of reduction in subsidies as they are transferable and invested rampantly with problem of mistargeting and linkages. This can be easily grasped from the fact that just shifting to cross transfers in distribution of subsidized LPG is expected to save annually around 15,000 crore for the exchequer. Let me talk about some subsidies-led distortion in India. First, energy groundwater nexus. Agriculture sector is perhaps having most justifiable claim on subsidized inputs given the dismal situation of the farmers in the country. On these lines, water and electricity for agriculture use are heavily subsidized by state governments. Owing to this, in large part of India, groundwater is being extracted indiscriminately as electric pump of consumer that is almost free of cost. This has led to dramatic fall in groundwater levels. Wells have gone dry at numerous places. Coming to the second point, subsidized fertilizers. Presently, urea is not covered under the scheme due to political pressure and compulsions. On the other hand, potassium and phosphorus are covered under the scheme. As a result, actual use of NPK is in the ratio of around 8 to the 3 to the 1, while recommended use is 4 is to 2 is to 1. This additional use of urea does not give any additional benefit to the farmer. Instead, this can degenerate soil and harm crop. Fertilizer subsidy was 67,971 crore in 2013-14, an increase of 11% over 2009 to 10. Large part of this went to production and consumption of urea that was not needed at all. Also, due to excessive use of fertilizer, groundwater is also getting polluted and chemical bioaccumulation problem is impacting health of people. Coming to the railways. In railways, there is a subsidization and cross-subsidization. Between 93 and 2011, the wholesale price index rose by 295% and the fares of sleeper class and second class travel rose by 144% and 106% respectively. Consequently, railways run at heavy loss, which can be considered as substitute to passengers of the railways. It's only natural that railway has failed to expand and improve quality to serve needs of booming Indian economy. Coming to the agriculture finance. Economic survey notes three discrepancies in this subsidy. 1. Trend indicates that amount for a single loan is increasing for most of these subsidized loans. This means that more subsidies is going in favor of rich farmers. 2. Extension of a subsidized credit is concentrated in otherwise unable to meet priority sector lending targets, desperately discourse loan to reach targets at the end only. It is highly unlikely that this way credit will reach desirable parties. Third and the last one, agricultural credit is getting concentrated on peripheries of urban areas, which means that money is being diverted to non-agricultural use. Given above are the few subsidies distortion in India, in such scenario, direct benefit transfers comes to rescue government from this problem. Talking about some direct benefit transfers, let me first explain about the fiscal saving option. Assuming explicit savings or explicit subsidies being extended by a state in current form to remain between 3 to 4 lakhs crores. DBT will curb this expenditure by around 15%, which is a conservative estimate of current leakages. This can save government around 50,000 crores, which can be used more efficiently for development purposes. Also, these roots of this completely phase out the corruption, which is predominantly a very important factor in India right now. It is common knowledge that subsidized fertilizer is diverted to industrial use from agricultural sector. Kerosene is mixed in diesel and PDS food is leaked in black markets. In short, subsidy regime has nurtured a mammoth corrupt ecosystem and black economy in India. It is also likely to control inflation. Distortions created by subsidies regimes discourages investment in relevant sectors. This creates supply-side constraints in economy. It is expected that recent deregulation of diesel will increase production and private firms will reopen their retail outlets. Also, direct benefit transfers can improve the better nutrition, because when there is a cash transfer, poor people will be able to diversify their diet by including more items like pulses, eggs, etc. This will increase their protein intake. Direct cash transfer is also being implemented for transfer of wages in Manrega's scheme. It has resulted in reduction in delayed and fake payments in relevant areas. Further, direct benefit transfer for fertilizers and kerosene is on the cards. In case of fertilizers, government is facing problems in determination of beneficiaries because there is a lack of clear land title. Government initiatives. We can talk about the government initiatives which is banking upon Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana, under which more than 20 crore accounts have been opened. This is perhaps most significant step towards financial inclusion till date, as unbanked population has been halved to 233 million. Subsidies under Pahal scheme, pensions under National Social Assistance Plan, and wages under Manregas are being credited to newly opened Jan Dhan account of the people. Apart from these initiatives, behavioral and technical remedies may be of immense use to control and target subsidies better. Under Give It Up campaigning, about 50 lakh of LPG users have voluntarily given up their subsidies entitlements. On technological side, urea is being neem coated, while enhancing agricultural productivity makes it unfit for industrial use.